Thank you, everyone. And I'm Shuning Zhang, a PhD from Tsinghua University. And it's my great honor to present our paper, Designing Reflective Thinking-Based Contextual Privacy Policy for Mobile Applications. And thanks for our collaborators from University of Washington, University of Melbourne. And it's their great contribution that shapes this paper. And as we all know, privacy policies are hard to read, and this also reflected by the previous presenters' PowerPoints. And traditional privacy policies has a overwhelming length, more than 4,000 words, and they are also bounded by legal complexity and using abstract languages. And there are past works that highlight 74% of users completely bypass them. And beside the presentation issue, there are also cognitive gaps that hinder users to comprehend the privacy policy. Policies are usually presented only at the installation phase, where users are forced to read through them, which poses a high cognitive burden. And users also feel it's hard to connect abstract policy to practical in-situ risks during app usage. So countering these many risks and challenges, there are many initiatives to improve privacy policies demonstration and also the construction of privacy policy. So for visualization efforts, earlier forms focus on machine-readable formats such as P3P and human-digestible formats such as privacy labels. However, they are often not presented at the precise moment a privacy risk occurs, causing temporal disconnect. And later on, there comes just-in-time notice and contextual privacy policies, which present privacy information at the point of interaction. However, timely delivery does not always mean meaningful engagement, and we argue that existing contextual privacy policies act as static disclosure mechanisms, which did not connect the risks to the visualization forms and did not provoke active reflection or informed decision-making on mobile devices. So for our work, we grounded contextual privacy policies design in reflective thinking framework, which is previously used mostly in educational and learning context. Here, we choose a 3-stage reflective thinking framework, and also there are many others with 5 stages and 6 stages. And the 3-stage framework align with the design of contextual privacy policies from Jasper. And the experience stage sparks reflection in action, where it's surprise that disrupts habitual user behavior, potentially through a contextual nudge or some alerts, some hinters. And reflection stage supports conscientious inquiry into the why and how of data usage, moving beyond passive observation, potentially through data consequences visualization or privacy risks visualization or notifications. And the action stage maps insights to meaningful granular controls that empower users to act, potentially like through binary notifications, binary controls, fine-grained controls on device or even on the screen. And towards this reflective thinking-based framework and grounded in these designs, we propose our research questions, which proceed from the construction of design space to instantiation and finally to evaluation. So for the first research question, we ask what dimensions constitute a reflective thinking-based design space for contextual privacy policies. And then for the instantiation, we ask what are the actual interface elements. And finally, we ask for evaluation how do users perceive the risk and the interactive experience within this framework. And we combine many methodologies together for this work, first proceeding through 3 expert workshops to construct the design space and then instantiate the prototype and then evaluate containing technical evaluations for generating accuracy and finally user studies. And here comes the results. Firstly, for the contextual privacy design space, where we synthesized the users' experts' designs into 6 problems of contextual privacy policy that contextual privacy policy can solve, and we mapped them into 13 designs, connecting them to 3 stages, which form a Sankey diagram, potentially helping designers and users to better design contextual privacy policy and comprehend contextual privacy policies. And we also have a detailed view of different designs which are abstract from the user experts role designs into different groups. And for experience, we have ambient and minimalist cues, attention grabbing alerts, and for etc. And for reflection, we have summarization and layer disclosure, for etc. And for reflection, we have just-in-time granular controls and other forms such as binary choices. And we also have a session that ranked the different designs according to the effectiveness and feasibility, which is reflected in the paper. And we highlighted that different designs in each design dimension reflects different trade-offs. For example, between effectiveness and efficacy, and also cognitive loads, which users and designers are expected to use according to their practical needs. And here we instantiate some of the designs, a design combinations of different stages into conflict, which is a app background service that can operate on third-party apps to hint the contextual privacy risks. So by default, in the left graph, the conflict would act as a contextual hint at the side of the screen. When the privacy risks emerge, it hints users about the privacy risks of different types, such as financial risks and communication contact numbers. And users could click on different buttons to see the notifications containing privacy policy experts and also the data consequences generated grounded in the privacy policy. And users could also click on the button to dismiss or undo the risks to practically control that. And that constitutes the flow from experience to reflection and then to action. And finally, we conducted a user study, and we compare conflict to traditional contextual privacy policies, which only shows the privacy policy expert where a risk emerges. And we compare them across different tasks, from travel, booking to browsing, and etc. We measured mainly about reflective thinking using Canvas questionnaire, which is widely used in HCI conferences and security and privacy conferences. And we also measured policy comprehension and workloads. And our main finding is that conflict disrupts habitual action and increased understanding, which is reflected in the scales. And here, interestingly, we did not find reflection and critical reflection are improved, potentially due to the short-term duration of our study, which only lasted 1 hour. And secondly, we found conflict increased comprehension without inducing cognitive overload, which is reflected in closed quizzes and also the workload scales. And although we show some promising results, we want to highlight that there are also some challenges and limitations that future work could iterate upon. The first is that, as I said, the current study only has 1 hour long, so it may be subject to novelty effects and also other lab effects, and future work could conduct longitudinal study to observe whether the reflective thinking still works in a realistic setting. And the second is that our reflective consequences generation depended on large language models, as this session discussed earlier and later. Large language models are subject to hallucinations and errors, and although we have technical evaluations which prove that the models with prompts with few short examples could reach over 90% accuracy, there are still false positive and false negative cases, which we need to mitigate in the future. And also, the generation process currently is a static process, which only depends on privacy risks. And we observe in the study that some users, they need different visualizations, different hints, according to their cognitive states or according to their reading comprehension levels. So future work could integrate these different indicators, different backgrounds, contextual backgrounds into the generation process. And finally, the current conflict is also only evaluated on Chinese and English datasets and also this kind of users, and whether it could naturally extend to different languages for reflection still warrants future work. And that's all for my presentation. In sum, we constructed a reflective thinking-based contextual privacy policy design space and instantiated that into a prototype and evaluated the prototype and get some promising initial results. And thanks everyone for listening. I'm also on job market, and if you find some suitable opportunities, please feel free to contact me. Thanks.